very good evening to you. I hope you're having a lovely evening today. And welcome back to Y254 TV. My name is Cheryl Blessing. I am your host for the evening. And I'm so sorry, it's a bit hot in here. Temperatures in Nairobi zimetupata kwa studio finally. But irregardless, it's part of one of the conversations that we're having this evening. And I'm super excited for it because it's something that I think is relevant to every single individual. Today, we're having a conversation on how we can overcome life's challenges because we've been facing so many things. In terms of just Kenya alone, when we look at our political scene, the economic scene, the social scene, even the spiritual scene, there is so many things that are going on. So many challenges have come up in the past few years, the past few months. And I want us to talk about how we can overcome them because we're probably feeling like it's too much and we don't know what to do from here. So this evening on the Power Talk Show, we are getting into things that we can do to get over the life's challenges. So joining me on set this evening are two amazing guests who have been here before. So let me welcome the lady first. We have Chebet Cherez, who is a lovely digital media practitioner. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thanks for having me.
Karibu. It's so lovely to host you always.
Thank you for always having me.
And right next to Chebet, we have Pastor Edwin Tiego. He is a pastor at Inspiration Embassy, and he's here to just inspire us. As usual. Karibu, Pastor.
I'm grateful it's great to be here once again.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to having a great moment on the Power Talk Show.
I'm also so excited for this conversation because personally I feel this is a conversation that's close to so many of us.
Sure.
And as we're getting into this, I want us to get into a personal encounter that Chebet had in her life, which we'll get into later on in the conversation. Let us understand how we can overcome challenges through real life experiences. So as we continue with this conversation, I want to hear from you. Go on our platforms across all social media at Y254. And the question we want to know from you today is, what is one of the challenges that you're facing? What is one thing that you're struggling with today? What's one thing that you find very challenging, that you wake up and you keep thinking about it, keep thinking about how I'm going to overcome this, how I'm going to get over this? What's the one thing that you're struggling with today? Let us know on our platforms at Y254. We're also streaming live on X, just in case you're unable to watch us from the comfort of your home. If you have any friend, family who'd like to watch the show, but they're unable to, maybe they're coming back from work and they've not gotten home yet, tell them to go to our platforms on X and find the live link there. But to kickstart the conversation, because I think, honestly, so many people can relate with the challenges part, but the overcoming bit, that is where I think we need a lot of, we need to focus on the overcoming. We need to figure out how we can get over the challenges. And there are so many challenges that we come across from when we are kids and till right now. We are young adults and we're trying to figure out how to get through life. And we are facing so many things. So I want us to first talk about the personal challenges that may come up. What can we term as a personal challenge? What are some of the things that we've experienced that we feel like are universal? Perhaps most people deal with the same thing and it took some time for us to get over it, but it's possible to get through that. Let me start with the lady, Chebet. What's one of the personal challenges that you feel like you've experienced that most people also go through?
Thanks for that question, Cheryl, and thanks for having me again. Always a pleasure to be here. So since we're speaking about personal experiences, maybe one of the ones that I have experienced obviously is being a woman, navigating, trying to make a path for ourselves as young women, then also being a young mom. That has been very personal for me. I would say very challenging, especially in the era that we're in right now. But it's also doable if a couple of things are in place. For example, community. I think most of the challenges that we experience as human beings is because we keep them to ourselves. And then with the fast-paced world that we're in, it's very easy to get lost in in yourself, because it's like you have to do this on your own. You have to figure it out. You have to figure it out, and everyone is doing the same. So it can be very hard when you don't have support. I'd say support is number one for me.
Yeah. And I like that you've highlighted that, because March is the Women's Month. I like to think of it as a Women's Month,
Yes.
because a few days ago we were celebrating the International Women's Day.
Yes.
And it's truly one of the things that we have to deal with. Being a woman in present day society, any society really, I think being a woman has been a bit of a challenge. You have to actually make your mark,
Yeah.
to be respected, recognized, acknowledged as, you know, if it's a professional space, as a mom, being a mother requires an award
You know?
in itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the gents, Pastor Edwin, what are some of the personal challenges that you feel like you've experienced, that you go through and you've overcome, but it's a universal experience for most people that you've come across?
Challenges are many, many. And I like one quote which says that without struggles,
Yeah.
there is no progress. Actually, it is one of the things that you really need to get to know and to understand. Without struggle, there is no progress.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest challenges, I believe, it's one getting to find themselves, to find a niche they can be able to fit in this competitive world where you have a lot of competing interests.
Yeah.
You are pursuing your personal life, you are pursuing career, you are pursuing the social life, all these at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that is the most profound, if personally for myself.
Yeah. I like that, because genuinely finding your calling, there are people who discover it at 70, 80, and it takes your entire lifetime to discover that. I always find people who discover their talents when they were 3 or 5 and they're musicians or actresses and they have their life figured out. It's easy for them, but finding your life's true calling, that's one of the challenges that I feel like every person deals with. And it takes time for you to get to even knowing that you need to find your true calling. It's not something that you just wake up and you realize, oh, I need to think about it. You know, in school we're asked, what do you want to be? I want to be a doctor, nurse, teacher, pastor, you know, pilot. But we are never really taught how you get to choosing your calling. But like you've mentioned, there's so many other challenges that we face. In the personal realm, we were having a conversation last week about the standards of beauty and the expectations. We've had conversations about mental health, and those are some of the personal challenges. Sometimes it's even a matter of confidence, self-awareness. We deal with the issue of even our identities, trying to figure out who we are. And then we go to schools, because when we personally, it's just us in our own space. We go to school setups where we have to be in the communities. We go to work setups where you're forced to be in spaces with people. You have to tolerate sometimes some personalities, and you need to work with people. You need to figure out how to balance that. So what are those challenges that also come up when we're getting to these different levels, when we're going through school, through our workspaces? What are some of the challenges that may arise that we need to be aware of or even prepared for before we get there? Chebet.
Now, if I may pull up, you know, one of the quotes or one of the things we were taught when we were in media school is culture shock, obviously, because you were raised in a certain way, in a certain community, in a certain tribe, in a certain country, and then you come and interact with people from all walks of life. This is in school, at work, everywhere. You'll always meet people, and with that comes a lot of, you know, what is this? People are raised very differently from you. If you manage to navigate that and know how to live maybe peaceably and live well with other people while just balancing your own life, I think there is potential success. There's a lot of success that comes with that, because you learn how to handle people of all types. And that's really what success and a global mindset is all about. So I think it's a big challenge, but if you're able to navigate that, you know, you just give space to hold space for everyone. Yeah, I think that helps.
And I think looking back, that was perhaps one of the mindsets that went behind forming schools and all that. It was a way of making people socialize to prepare you for the world. Because sometimes when you're within your families, your values are different from your neighbors. And every single person, we've seen this growing up in our estates. There was a time when maybe your mom will say, don't eat at your neighbors. And then your neighbor will just come in and eat whatever without no questions asked. Sometimes people come in with shoes and you look at them and wonder, oh, your mom never bet you up because you're walking around with shoes in the house. And the values are so different, and it takes a social setting where you're forced to be with people. You're forced to be in a class, in groups. It prepares you for work. So when we get to our careers, we're building our careers. Now we're working. What are some of the things? Because yes, the personalities of people, I think, is one of the challenges that come up. But what other things usually come up? What other challenges may come up for someone who's getting into the career space, especially today, in the day and time that we have? Pastor, what would you say to that?
I would begin by saying that, first of all, challenges are things you're supposed to be expecting each and every day, because that is the only process through which one can be able to grow. And that is why I gave the quote that I gave, that without struggles, there is no growth. And therefore, I believe it is more of your perspective, your approach towards the challenges that come. That is what will determine on whether you are growing or you are stagnant in one way or another.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that you're given the case scenario of a career, or maybe you're in the marketplace. Especially for the young people, someone you are employed for the very, very first time, you do not know what to expect. Or you have this mind that when you are working, this is what normally happens. And when you get there, you find it is really on the contrary.
Yeah.
So whatever determines on whether you'll be able to survive in the marketplace, it is how you handle each and every challenge, and how it comes each and every day, and how you get to handle it. That is what determines on whether you are growing or you are stagnant.
Yeah.
But I believe it's a matter which you should expect each and every other day.
Yeah.
And for your information, today if you get a challenge, just know tomorrow the challenge will not be in the magnitude of the one you are having today. It is like in life, as you continue to advance, the challenges are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So what is it that you're supposed to do? You're supposed to expand your capacity. You're supposed to build your capacity so that each and every challenge that comes, you are able to conquer. You're able to grow through it.
Yeah.
And it depends on your point of view. And that is why here on the Power Talk show, we are calling them challenges.
Yeah.
Why? Because of the perspective. Someone else somewhere is calling them problems. You
Yeah.
understand? If you see them as problems, you cannot grow through them. Perhaps you'll avoid, and you'll find that you're stagnant and you're in the same place year in and year out.
And that is true. Because I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and we were reflecting, and those moments when you're just being realistic, and we were thinking, wow, what a scam it really is. Because I overcome this challenge, and then I have to face a bigger challenge. And then after I've overcome, there's still a bigger one up next. So where's the balance? Like, genuinely, it makes you grow. There's so many benefits to it, but it takes a mind shift. It takes you looking at it as a challenge. It's like a game sometimes. Because we always wonder, there are those games when level 1 you're fighting with like 10 guys. In level 2 there are 20 people. And then there's the final boss where you have to conquer. Then you can overcome. And so, yes, it's okay to accept that it can be overwhelming. Because I think just the thought of, today I'm fighting with, I'm maybe fighting against my health. Because I've had a flu for the past few days, and let me tell you, that was a challenge. And there are those minor things. But I'm thinking there's someone else who's dealing with something more serious. Someone actually has diabetes, and they have to get an insulin injection every single day. So it takes a level of a mind shift.
Sure.
So how do we get there? How can we shift our perspective? Because it's very easy to say, look at it as a challenge instead of look at it as a problem. But sometimes when you're there, you don't have dinner, you're hungry, you've barely eaten all day, you're thinking, wow, it's the worst case scenario. You don't think of tomorrow I might get a meal, or tomorrow breakfast might work itself out. In that moment, sometimes it's very hard to look at, this is something that's meant for my growth. So how do we shift our perspective? How do we even accept? Because I think it also takes accepting first that this is the reality of the situation. So how do we accept, especially when things are ugly, the negative, horrible situations that we really don't want to even acknowledge? So how do we acknowledge and look at it as, it's okay, this is here, it's fine, let's figure out how to deal with it from here. It's a bet. Sorry, I was looking at you because I wanted you to first give us your perspective.
Yes, I think that's a really good question. My mentor has taught me something, that problems gravitate towards their solutions. I think if you always think about that, it will, like you're saying, it's so easy to be like, this is the worst thing I'm going through right now. And someone somewhere is going through something 100 times worse than yours. Now, this is not to minimize anyone's issue or problem, because it is there and it is real and you must face it. Don't run away from it. Don't run away from it. Remember that this is a problem. It has gravitated to you. Now you're the solution. You have the solution. It has come to you. You're the solution. And then the third thing I'd say that you should keep in mind always is gratitude. Gratitude has a way of just dissolving, because you have an issue of no meal, but you're alive. Like when you shift that, and then you're like, I can make something come out tomorrow and I will have a meal. I can go beg, I can go borrow, I can talk to someone and say, hey, it's so bad. I can wail, I can cry, people can come to my help. You can do something. Always think about that I can do something about the situation. I think that really, and then the mindset of gratitude really changes everything. It's like, yeah, you're saying, okay, I don't have this, or this is happening to me, but there is this something to be grateful for, and I can overcome this and that. Yeah.
I like that, because it's reminded me of a quote I've been coming across of sometimes when you wake up, people, let's say you're supposed to wake up at 5 a.m. and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm still so sleepy. Instead of thinking that, think, I get to wake up. I get to actually experience a new day. You know, when we complain about, oh, I have to work out to look good. Why do I have to work out for my health? But think about, you get to work out. So if you change your perspective, and gratitude is important. So if I toss it to the spiritual side, because as she was saying that, I was thinking about David in the Bible. And David very clearly, through his entire youth in the Bible, and I think multiple religions have similar stories of people being grateful and overcoming their challenges through their, what will I say, their approach, their attitude towards the problems. So we see the situation of David going to Goliath, and everyone else in the camp is so scared. They're terrified. They're like, oh my God, this guy is a giant. But David is like, I'm mad that he's disrespecting our God. And that's motivation enough for me to stand up and face this challenge. And I think just watching his life, he was always grateful, even in situations where there's nothing, it's bleak, the situation is dark, you don't see any light at the end of this tunnel. But the practice of gratitude will always make it somehow work out. And we've seen multiple times in the Bible situations like that. In the Quran, there are some situations like that. Even in Buddhism, Hinduism, they have multiple cases of that. So how then, it's easy to say, have an attitude of gratitude. It's a nice catchphrase, but how do we actually adapt an attitude of gratitude? Because especially, man of God, I know especially in your line of work, most times, there are times when you want to get mad. You're frustrated about a challenge, you just feel like screaming and shouting, but you have to be composed. You have to thank God because you know what God is doing through the situation. So how do we adopt an attitude of gratitude? How do we make that a reality?
I'm really grateful that you're bringing it in that dimension. Because especially for men of God, I believe it will be very, very relevant for them. There's someone who said it's very difficult to be a man of God because at times you have to smile even when things are not okay, because you have to give hope to the people. Now, when it comes to challenges and gratitude, I totally agree with her that it works out magic. I want to give a statement, and I would want everyone. Actually, I got this today, and I said I must share it on set when I come. When someone says, I have not eaten, what comes into your mind? When someone says, I have not eaten, what comes into your mind? There are perspectives to it.
Yeah.
There is someone who has not eaten because they do not have food. Yeah? There is someone who has not eaten because they are watching their weight.
Yeah.
There is someone who has not eaten, not because they don't have the food, not because they are watching their weight, but because they have the food, but they do not have an appetite. Look at that. You understand?
Yeah.
So it is your perspective of any given situation that can keep you afloat. We have always been told it's not the water that surrounds the ship that makes the ship to sink. It is the water which gets into the ship.
Yeah.
So the attitude you get to adapt about life. Yeah? For instance, if you're someone who loves to complain, automatically you attract bad luck. You understand?
Yeah.
And many a times, I happen also to be a civil servant. I work in a public office. And the way people come asking for assistance, you can get to determine this one can get assistance, this one cannot get assistance, because there are people who have already ruled out they are defeated by situations of life. And getting to help that person is so difficult.
Yeah.
Have you ever given someone something and then they don't get to appreciate that little that you have given unto them, yet they are still yearning for more? What becomes your attitude? What becomes your outlook of even that particular person? Someone came asking for something. You tell them, I have this. Can it help? They say, oh, it cannot. Yet, in the first place, they did not have anything.
Yeah.
So gratitude is everything in life. And your perspective towards any given challenge will determine on whether you will overcome, because you're speaking about overcoming, or you will remain in the challenge.
Yeah. And I really, really love that, because genuinely it's your perspective. Because when we think about a glass, half empty or half full, do you know even the half, even if you think of it as half empty, you can still get quenched by the water that is still in the glass. That water is enough to water a plant, and it's enough to do multiple things. So your perspective of, I don't have this, I'm lacking this, my God, it's such a tough situation.
Yes.
It will attract that.
And if at all, maybe I can, sorry for interjection. If at all you can come to the realization that everyone has a challenge. You're not the only one who is having a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah? You're not the only one who is having a problem. Even though our challenges are unique and special in each and every way, everyone has a what? Everyone has a challenge.
And you know the funny thing, also to add to that,
Yeah.
sorry,
It's okay.
most times we are not the first people to experience the challenges
Oh,
we're
yes.
experiencing. And neither will we be the last.
Oh, yes.
So the minute we sit and acknowledge that this is something that someone else has experienced, maybe it's even one person in the history of the entire world, but they managed to overcome it. So you also can overcome it. And sometimes things do not come your path unless they're meant to.
Sure.
Challenges do not come your way unless they're meant to come your way to help you grow in one way or another. So right now, when we look at the economy, the youth are talking about the lack of jobs. There are no opportunities. And the reality is, we have no new industries. We barely have new job creations. And instead of wallowing, because so many people sit and talk about, unajua Kenya hakuna pesa. That's one common phrase I've come across. Hakuna pesa, but you come across people buying real estate every single day. People are investing and buying shares. People are building houses. We've just seen the grand, you know, the exchange of gifts between Bahati and Diana. And people were sitting asking, Kwani, these people, where are they removing their money from? So how can we also take advantage of the challenges? Instead of, because now we've accepted, we've shifted our mindset, we've accepted there are no jobs. Or the jobs that are there are highly, there's so many people competing for them, so they're very highly competitive. Secondly, I have a positive attitude about it. It's okay, there are no jobs, but I'm alive. I'm still healthy. I have my brains. So what then? What's the next step after that? We've accepted, we've changed our mindset. So what can we do after that? Chebet?
I think, just to take it back a bit, one thing that is helping me so much in this moment in my life is, you'll even see me online commenting this phrase somewhere there, 1 foot in front of the other. Today I'm here, this is my issue of today. About tomorrow, I don't know. Tomorrow will figure itself out, you know? 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front, that has really, it's doing tremendous.
And I like that. It reminds me of the song One Step at a Time.
Yeah.
So let me interject you very briefly, because I want you to add to the story that I want us to get into. But I also want us to take a very short break, and then we'll come back and talk more about this conversation. So go on our platforms at Y254. Meanwhile, the question what we want to hear from you is, what is one of the things that you're struggling with today? Let us know one of the things that's challenging you today, and then we can figure out how to get over it. So let's take a very short break, but stay tuned to Y254. We're going to come back with so much more on this conversation.